Let me talk to you for a moment, not as a speaker, not as a coach, but as someone who understands the hearts in this room. This message is for the woman who gave her best and still felt uncertain, the woman who stayed patient, stayed loyal, stayed hopeful, and yet found herself questioning where she truly stands. You did everything you were taught love requires, but commitment still feels just out of reach. And here's the hard truth: nobody prepares you for love alone does not guarantee commitment. You can be kind, you can be supportive, you can be consistent, and still be taken for granted. Because commitment doesn't happen when a man feels comfortable. It happens when something shifts. Tonight, I'm not here to teach you how to chase, convince, or compete. I'm here to teach you how to step back with power, how to disappear in a way that doesn't break you, but builds you. A way that doesn't create drama, but creates clarity. When a woman disappears correctly, a man doesn't feel anger first. He feels confusion, then concern, and finally, truth. This isn't about playing games. It's about changing the dynamic. It's about removing access where there is no commitment and replacing it with self-respect. It's about understanding that your presence is valuable and your absence is powerful. Because the moment you stop proving your worth, the moment you stop explaining your pain, the moment you stop waiting to be chosen, something inside him wakes up and something inside you heals. So if you're ready to stop settling for uncertainty and start standing in your worth, stay with me. This message isn't about losing him. It's about choosing yourself and letting commitment reveal itself. They feel absence first. Let me tell you something most people are afraid to say out loud. Men do not experience emotional attachment the same way women do. A woman feels love through closeness, consistency, conversation, reassurance, and shared moments. A man, on the other hand, often feels love after something is missing. Not when it's present, not when it's available, not when it's guaranteed. He feels it when there is a sudden shift, when access is removed, when the space that used to be filled by you is empty. When you are always there, always responding, always understanding, always forgiving, your presence becomes familiar. Familiarity is not bad, but familiarity without boundaries creates comfort. And comfort is dangerous because comfort makes a man stop thinking. When he knows you will answer, he stops wondering. When he knows you will stay, he stops securing. When he knows you are emotionally available no matter what, he stops valuing the access he has to you. See, men don't sit around analyzing emotions the way women do. They don't constantly ask themselves, how do I feel about her today? They are living in the moment. They feel what is in front of them. So if you are constantly present, constantly giving, constantly showing up, there is no emotional interruption strong enough to wake his heart up. Love, for many men, is not activated by presence. It is activated by absence. The moment you step back, something powerful happens in his mind. Silence enters. Space opens. And in that space, his thoughts finally have room to speak. That's when memories start replaying your voice, your laughter, the way you showed up when he was stressed, the way you supported him without being asked. All the things he took for granted while you were there suddenly feel louder when you are not. Absence forces reflection. Presence rarely does. This is why a man can seem unbothered while you are still around, but deeply affected once you pull away. It's not because he never cared. It's because he never had to feel the loss. While you were present, his nervous system stayed calm. He felt secure without being intentional. But the moment you remove yourself, his emotional safety net disappears. And that's when discomfort begins. Discomfort is the birthplace of realization. When a man no longer has easy access to your energy, your time, your attention, or your emotional labor, his mind starts asking questions it never asked before. Where did she go? Why does this feel different? Did I mess this up? Those questions don't come when you're always there. They only come when something is gone. And here's the part many women struggle with. They think pulling back means they are being cruel or cold. But absence is not punishment. Absence is clarity. You are not trying to hurt him. You are allowing him to experience the consequences of not choosing you fully. You are allowing reality to speak where words have failed. Men often confuse availability with permanence. They think she's here today, she'll be here tomorrow. But when tomorrow comes and you're no longer in the same position, it disrupts his assumptions. And when a man's assumptions are disrupted, his emotions finally engage. This is also why chasing never works. The more you push, the more he relaxes. The more you explain, the more he avoids accountability. Your constant presence removes urgency. Absence creates it. A man does not commit when he feels secure. He commits when he feels the risk of loss. When you disappear the right way, not with drama, not with threats, not with emotional outbursts. You give him the one experience that forces emotional honesty. He has to sit with the silence. He has to feel the gap you left behind. He has to confront the possibility that you may not always be there to love him on his terms. And in that moment, many men finally understand the value of what they had, because love for a man is often realized backward. He doesn't recognize it while it's feeding him. He recognizes it when it's gone. Disappear without explanation. Explanations kill impact. Let me tell you why explanations weaken your power more than silence ever will. When you explain yourself, you give a man emotional relief. You give him understanding without accountability. You give him comfort without change. And comfort is the one thing that keeps a man exactly where he is. Most women believe that clarity comes from talking, from laying everything out, from explaining how they feel, why they're hurt, what they need, and what must change. But here's the truth. When you explain your withdrawal, you remove the mystery. And mystery is what forces a man to think. Men are not wired to process emotions through long conversations the way women are. They process through experience, through consequences, through shifts in reality. When you disappear without explanation, you don't confuse him, you confront him. You force him to sit with unanswered questions. And unanswered questions are uncomfortable. That discomfort is where emotional awareness begins. When you say, I'm pulling back because you did this, you've already done the emotional labor for him. You've handed him the answer key. He doesn't have to reflect. He doesn't have to examine his behavior. He doesn't have to wonder if he's about to lose you. He just categorizes the situation as drama, emotions, or another conversation he can avoid dealing with seriously. Explanations also soften guilt. When you explain, you reassure him that you still care. You still want to be understood. You still want connection. And that tells him you're not really leaving. You're just expressing pain. And men know how to wait out pain when they don't feel threatened by loss. Silence, on the other hand, offers no reassurance. When you disappear without explanation, there is no emotional cushion, no soft landing, no clarity to hide behind. His mind fills the gap on its own. And whatever he imagines is usually far more powerful than anything you could have said out loud. He starts replaying moments. He starts questioning his actions. He starts wondering if someone else has your attention now. Not because you told him, but because uncertainty forces self-examination. This is where women misunderstand power. Power is not in being heard. Power is in being felt. And explanations are heard, but silence is felt. A woman who disappears quietly communicates something profound without speaking a single word. I know my worth, and I don't need to convince you of it. That message lands deeper than any emotional speech ever could. It shifts the dynamic from you chasing understanding to him chasing clarity. Another reason explanations kill impact is because they invite negotiation. The moment you explain, he starts bargaining. I didn't mean it like that. I'll do better. You're overthinking. Suddenly, you're back in the same cycle, trying to prove why your feelings are valid instead of standing in your decision. Explanations open the door to manipulation, delays, and empty promises. Silence closes that door. When you disappear without explanation, you're not being disrespectful. You're being decisive. You're saying, I no longer need to argue my value. You're allowing your absence to communicate the boundary you couldn't get respected through words. And let's be clear, disappearing without explanation does not mean being passive, aggressive, or cold-hearted. It means choosing emotional self-respect over emotional overexertion. It means recognizing that if someone truly valued you, they wouldn't need a detailed breakdown of why you're pulling away. They would already feel the shift in your energy and respond with action. Men take silence seriously when it's consistent, not when it's used as a tactic, not when it's followed by checking in, watching stories, or sending late-night messages. Real disappearance is clean, it's firm, it's calm, and it's rooted in self-control. And here's the most important part: when you disappear without explanation, you protect your dignity. You don't beg for change. You don't plead for understanding. You don't put your heart on trial. You let your absence speak the truth your words couldn't enforce. Because when a man truly fears losing you, he doesn't ask for explanations. He changes his behavior. Disappear into growth, not into pain. Let me make this clear, because this is where the difference between power and suffering lies. Disappearing is not about vanishing into loneliness, confusion, or emotional chaos. It is not about isolating yourself and replaying every conversation in your head. That is not growth. That is pain wearing the mask of strength. Real disappearance is intentional, it is purposeful. And most importantly, it is productive. When you disappear into pain, your body may be absent, but your mind is still chasing. You're not really gone. You're just silent and hurting. You're watching, waiting, hoping he notices your absence while you slowly drain yourself emotionally. That kind of disappearance weakens you. It keeps you tied to him internally, even if you've stepped back externally. But when you disappear into growth, everything changes. Growth redirects your energy away from him back to yourself. It means your silence isn't empty, it's full. Full of new habits, stronger boundaries, deeper self-respect, and a renewed sense of purpose. And here's the truth: men can feel the difference. A man can sense when a woman is suffering in silence, and he can sense when a woman has truly shifted. One kind of silence feels heavy. The other feels final. When you choose growth, you stop centering your emotional world around whether he calls, texts, or changes. You start waking up with intention instead of anxiety. You begin asking, how can I become better today? Instead of, why hasn't he chosen me yet? That shift alone changes your posture, your voice, your energy, and your standards. Growth is discipline. It's going to the gym even when your heart feels heavy. It's praying or journaling instead of replaying conversations. It's building skills, strengthening your mind, and creating routines that don't depend on anyone else's attention. And the more you invest in yourself, the less you feel the urge to chase validation from someone who hasn't earned it. Here's the part most people don't talk about. Growth makes you unpredictable in the best way. When you disappear into pain, your life stays stagnant. Nothing changes except your level of sadness. But when you disappear into growth, your life expands, new opportunities appear, new confidence forms, new people enter your world. And suddenly, you're no longer waiting, you're moving. That movement is what creates impact. A man who once felt comfortable knowing exactly where you were emotionally now feels the shift. He notices that your energy is different. You're not bitter, not dramatic, not pleading. You're lighter, calmer, more focused. And that unsettles him because growth signals independence. Independence signals choice, and choice threatens complacency. Men don't fear women who are emotional. They fear women who no longer need them to feel whole. When you grow, you stop proving your worth and start embodying it. You don't announce your healing. You don't post about your transformation for attention. You just change. And real change is loud even when you say nothing. Growth also heals you whether he returns or not. That's the secret. Disappearing into growth means your happiness is no longer dependent on his decision. If he steps up, it's a choice, not a rescue. If he doesn't, you're already standing on solid ground. Pain keeps you stuck in the past. Growth pulls you into the future. And here's the most powerful part. When you disappear into growth, you stop chasing outcomes. You're no longer disappearing to get him back. You're disappearing to get yourself back. That intention shifts everything, because men can sense when a woman's absence is strategic versus when it is self-preserving. Self-preservation is magnetic. A woman who grows in silence sends a message without words. I didn't break. I became better. And that message lingers. It lingers in his mind, in his memory, and in his heart. Because while pain makes you smaller, growth makes you unforgettable. Men commit when they feel replacement is possible. Let me say this in a way that's honest, respectful, and real. Men do not commit simply because they love you. Love alone does not create urgency. What creates urgency is the awareness that what they have access to is no longer guaranteed. A man commits when he understands, deeply and emotionally, that the woman he values could be chosen by someone else. This isn't about jealousy games or manipulation. It's about human nature. Men are competitive by instinct. They value what they must earn and protect. When there is no perceived competition, no perceived risk, commitment stays optional. Comfort convinces him he has time. Replacement reminds him that time is limited. As long as a man believes you are emotionally locked in, unavailable to others, and waiting for his decision, he feels no pressure to decide. He may enjoy your presence, your loyalty, your care, and your consistency, but enjoyment is not the same as commitment. Enjoyment says, I like this. Replacement says, I could lose this. And loss is what wakes men up. When a man senses that you are no longer positioning yourself as his, without a title, something shifts internally. He starts watching more closely, listening more carefully, thinking more seriously. Not because you said anything, but because your energy changed. You're no longer centered on him. You're no longer operating from emotional availability without security. That shift triggers awareness. Men commit when the image of another man stepping into their place becomes real. Not necessarily because someone else is there, but because you've stopped signaling exclusivity without commitment. You're not advertising your loyalty anymore. You're not proving your devotion. You're simply living your life with self-respect and openness to what's next. This is where many women misunderstand the idea of replacement. Replacement does not mean flirting aggressively, posting for attention, or trying to make him jealous. Those tactics feel forced and childish, and men can sense it. True replacement energy is quiet, it's calm, it's grounded. It's the confidence of a woman who knows she is desirable without needing to prove it. When you start choosing yourself, other people naturally notice. Opportunities increase. Your standards rise. Your presence becomes selective. And that's when a man starts to feel it, not panic, but pressure. The pressure to step up or step aside. Men do not respond to ultimatums well, but they respond strongly to reality. Reality is this: a woman with self-respect does not wait indefinitely. A woman with growth does not pause her life for potential. And a woman who knows her worth does not offer exclusive access to someone who hasn't chosen her. When a man realizes that your life is moving forward without guarantees tied to him, commitment becomes a decision he must make, not one he can delay. He understands that if he doesn't claim his place, someone else eventually will. And here's the part that matters most. This dynamic reveals his true intentions. A man who truly values you will rise. He will clarify his feelings. He will speak about the future. He will create security. A man who doesn't will drift away. And that is not a loss. That is clarity. Replacement is not about replacing him. It's about replacing the version of yourself that was willing to wait without direction. It's about stepping into a life where you are chosen every day by yourself first. When a man feels replacement is possible, he finally understands your value. Not because you changed who you are, but because you stopped making your presence unconditional. And commitment, at its core, is a man choosing to protect what he knows he can lose. Your silence reveals his intentions. Let me tell you why silence is one of the most honest tests in any relationship. Silence removes confusion. Silence removes performance. Silence removes words that sound good but lead nowhere. When you stop talking, stop explaining, and stop reaching, a man no longer has anything to hide behind except his actions. And actions never lie. Most women try to understand a man by listening to what he says. But words are easy. Promises are easy. Apologies are easy. Silence is different. Silence forces a man to show who he really is without guidance, reminders, or emotional assistance from you. When you go quiet, not to punish, not to manipulate, but to protect your peace, you step out of the role of emotional manager. You stop reminding him of your needs. You stop checking if he's okay. You stop keeping the connection alive by effort alone. And in that quiet space, his true intentions rise to the surface. If a man truly values you, silence will pull him closer. He will notice the distance. He will ask questions. He will show concern. He will initiate contact with purpose, not confusion. He will want to understand what changed and, more importantly, what he needs to do to restore the connection. Silence activates pursuit in a man who is invested. But if a man enjoys access without responsibility, silence will expose that too. He will drift. He will stay casual. He will send half-effort messages or disappear entirely. Not because he's confused, but because he was never committed. Your silence didn't change him. It revealed him. That's the power of silence. It doesn't create behavior. It uncovers it. When you are always speaking, always explaining your feelings, always pushing for clarity, you give him cover. You give him opportunities to respond without commitment. He can say the right things, agree temporarily, and continue as before. But when you stop talking, he has two choices: step up or step away. Silence also removes emotional dependency. You are no longer asking him to define the relationship with words. You are watching how he responds when effort is required. And effort is the clearest expression of intention. A man who intends to be in your life will not feel threatened by silence. He will feel motivated by it. He will recognize that something valuable is at risk. He will take responsibility for his position in your life. He will not wait for you to guide him. On the other hand, a man who only intended to enjoy the moment will interpret silence as freedom. And that is the answer you needed all along. This is why silence can feel scary, because it means letting go of control. It means trusting that the truth will show itself without your intervention. It means accepting that you may not like the outcome, but the outcome will be real. Silence shifts the power back to you. You are no longer reacting. You are observing. You are no longer persuading. You are assessing. And assessment leads to clarity. It's important to understand that silence must be consistent to work. Not emotional silence followed by late-night texts. Not distance followed by checking his social media. Real silence is clean. It is calm. It is rooted in self-respect. And when it is consistent, it speaks louder than any conversation ever could. Your silence says, I will no longer audition for a role in your life. Your silence says, I value reciprocity. Your silence says, I am watching what you do, not what you promise. And in that space, his intentions become undeniable. Because a man who wants you will move toward you. And a man who doesn't will fade. Silence doesn't end relationships. Silence reveals whether one truly existed. The woman who can walk away is the woman he wants to keep. Let me tell you a truth that changes how men see women forever. The woman a man respects the most is not the woman who sacrifices endlessly, explains endlessly, or waits endlessly. It is the woman who knows she can walk away and is willing to do it with dignity. That kind of woman changes a man's emotional posture because she cannot be controlled by comfort or fear. Men are deeply aware of power dynamics, even when they don't talk about them. When a man knows a woman will stay no matter what, he relaxes too much. He delays decisions. He takes emotional shortcuts. Not because he's cruel, but because there is no pressure to be better. But when a man knows a woman can leave, everything sharpens. His awareness increases. His respect deepens. His intentions become clearer. A woman who can walk away is not cold, she is centered. She is not threatening, she is grounded. She does not announce her strength, she embodies it. And that embodiment sends a message louder than any demand ever could. I choose you, but I don't need you to survive. That message does something powerful inside a man. It removes the illusion of control. He realizes he is not being tolerated. He is being chosen. And choice is what makes commitment meaningful. You cannot commit to something that feels guaranteed. Commitment requires risk. When a woman lacks the ability to walk away, she negotiates her boundaries. She explains her pain. She waits for potential. She hopes effort will change outcomes. But hope without standards drains a woman and dulls a man. Over time, he stops seeing her as a partner and starts seeing her as emotional security. And emotional security without accountability kills desire. The woman who can walk away doesn't argue her worth. She doesn't beg for consistency. She doesn't threaten ultimatums. She simply adjusts her presence when her needs are not met, and that adjustment is felt immediately. Men are not motivated by fear of arguments. They are motivated by fear of loss. When a man senses that a woman is strong enough to leave a situation that no longer serves her, he understands something important: she is not replaceable. Not because she's rare in beauty or talent, but because she has self-respect. And self-respect is magnetic. This kind of woman doesn't disappear to manipulate. She disappears because she values alignment. She doesn't stay where effort is one-sided. She doesn't chase clarity from someone who benefits from her confusion. She trusts herself enough to walk away from uncertainty. And here's the paradox: the woman who can walk away often doesn't have to, because her energy sets a standard early. Men rise to meet standards they believe they can lose access to. Walking away also protects her heart. She doesn't stay long enough to become bitter. She doesn't shrink herself to be chosen. She doesn't compromise her future for temporary attachment. She knows that love without respect is not love, it's endurance. A man who recognizes this kind of strength either steps up or steps aside. And both outcomes are wins, because the goal is not to keep a man at any cost. The goal is to keep your self-worth intact. The woman who can walk away is calm, not reactive. She observes patterns instead of reacting to moments. She understands that consistency matters more than chemistry. And because she is not afraid to leave, she attracts men who are ready to stay. Men want to keep what they cannot control, but deeply respect. And a woman who can walk away is not running from love. She is protecting it. So let me leave you with this truth, and I want you to hear it not with fear, but with freedom. You were never meant to chase commitment. You were never meant to beg to be chosen. And you were never meant to shrink yourself just to keep someone comfortable. The moment you understand that, everything changes. Disappearing the right way is not about punishment. It's about positioning. It's about stepping out of confusion and stepping into clarity. It's about choosing self-respect over emotional exhaustion. When you stop forcing love, you finally allow truth to show itself. If he steps up, it's because he chose you, not because you convinced him. If he doesn't, it's because he wasn't meant to walk with you. And now you know without wasting more time. And that is power. Remember this: the woman who is at peace with walking away is the woman who is hardest to lose. Not because she threatens, not because she manipulates, but because she values herself enough to require alignment. When you disappear with dignity, you stop auditioning for love. You stop explaining your worth. You stop waiting for potential to turn into promises. You become the standard. And standards don't beg. They attract. Let him feel the absence. Let him face the silence. Let him decide. Because whether he chooses commitment or walks away, you win. You walk forward stronger, clearer, and whole. And that woman, the woman who chose herself, is the woman who will always be chosen in the end.